What's up, Airsofters? Question time. Do double triggers have a place in Airsoft, or are they a technology and feature that should be relegated to paintball? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. In favor? Not in favor? We want to know. What's up, guys? This is a video that may or may not enrage you. Trigger warning. I warned you. Trigger. This is G&G's latest creation, the SSG-1. Showcased in Taiwan at the G&G tournament in Taiwan in 2019 and again showcased at SHOT Show 2020, this is what G&G's take on what a purpose-built Speedsoft gun should and could feel like. Speaking of SHOT Show 2020, this right here is one of the rifles they had on display at their booth. This exact one. Because this is a sample model, it's been handled and moved around a lot, so it's got a few dings and scratches on it, and a few small features are different slightly from the release model. We'll mention those bits as we get to them. Now let's go tip to tail on this puppy. Up here at the muzzle is the enormous mock flash hider, specifically designed to fit perfectly around G&G's UVT-106 tracer unit, which can attach to the outer barrel via an adapter, which is sold separately. The outer barrel is effectively the handguard on this. Either that or it lacks a handguard. Whichever the case, it's super unique and available in all sorts of different colors, thanks to various kits that are available from G&G, which are also sold separately. That takes us to the 100% polymer body straight from their newest combat machine line, along with their newest pistol grip found on their Raider and ARP series. This receiver has a flat pick rail up top, no backup sights are included, and the receiver also features a fire selector only on one side. It does, however, feature an ambidextrous mag release. And here's where we encounter another defining feature of this gun, the blade-style double finger trigger and enlarged trigger guard, which is sold separately. That's right, this is an aftermarket trigger sold by G&G because for the US market at least, this will ship with a standard M4 trigger and standard trigger guard. This is probably because there are a significant amount of fields in the US that outright ban long blade-style triggers like this. And let's be honest, it would really suck to have an out-of-the-box gun that would be illegal at your local field. So thankfully, they've given you the option to upgrade to this very unique design aftermarket. Furthermore, according to the rules on SpeedQB.com, the host of the official SpeedQB Global Championships here in LA, which we've linked to in the description down below just in case you're interested in competitive Speedsoft, quote, double extended triggers are not allowed, end quote. That's wild, right? So this extra large trigger is for those who compete and play at places that allow them. Not to say that you can't buy one and put it on your own rifle, just you might be limited to where you can use it. Is that fair? Let us know in the comments section down below. Lucky for us, we get to play with it today, without fear of ridicule. All right, moving back to the final feature in this troublesome trifecta, the drop stock. So called because it pivots down from horizontal to nearly 80 degrees, almost vertical. Really, the only thing keeping this from going even farther is the pistol grip. We don't yet know if this is going to be a part that you can purchase separately for another platform, but stay tuned to our social media and check out our website where we regularly make announcements like really cool releases from brands that we carry. There is one more critical feature that we need to mention, and that is the magazine. While this will work with most other M4 mags out there, G&G has gone and made their own magazine just for this rifle. It has an extended follower to feed every last round, and it's translucent, so you can see how many BBs you have left. The release version will also actually have indicators printed on the outside to give you quick references to how many rounds you have left in the magazine. But this is also a controversial feature because this magazine only holds 105 rounds. That's almost 20 less than most mid-caps, and there's plenty of mid-caps that hold 150, 200, or even 250 BBs. According to our research, G&G has apparently done this to ensure that this magazine will feed very heavy BBs at very high rates of fire. Let's put that claim to the test. So I've taken their 105 round magazine and filled it with 4 3s. Something you'd rarely ever do in an indoor game. Let's see if that'll keep up with 20 rounds a second with an 11-1 1000 milliamp battery. I'd say with the exception of one skip, it fed beautifully. That begs the question though, if this new and improved magazine is so much more reliable on 4 3s or heavyweight BBs than its previous versions, how will a previous version of a G&G mid-cap fare that holds 20 more rounds with 4 3s? Let's find out. So clearly the new magazine is on to something. Heavier weight BBs, 20 rounds a second, not a problem for the new magazine or the SSG-1. That was really interesting. That was the heaviest weight BB we had on hand, and it fed beautifully. Now, this magazine is also supposed to fit and feed in just about every M4 airsoft rifle on the planet. That seems pretty legit. Even if the SSG-1 isn't for you, these magazines will certainly be something you'll want to check out if you have really high rates of fire, or if you're shooting really heavy BBs. All of these features combined give you an airsoft gun that's like nothing else in the wide world of airsoft. And that's because it's really the first of its kind, which is in the name, SSG-1, or Speedsoft Gun 1. Before we explore how this contraption handles and performs, let's break this open and see what's going on under the surface. The SSG-1 is powered by G&G's proven G2 gearbox system, complete with 18:1 ratio gears that have been short-stroked by 3 teeth, all spinning on sealed 8mm bearings. The piston is polymer with the second tooth removed on a full set of metal teeth, a non-ported polymer piston head, and a bearing on the inside. The cylinder is ported and the cylinder head is metal with 2 O-rings. The air nozzle is also metal with double O-rings for improved air seal and stabilization, which are both factors that can improve accuracy. The G2 ETU, or Enhanced Trigger Unit, has a micro switch and is compatible with Marui type triggers. There's also a lever for counting gear cycles. Interestingly, there is no magazine disconnect lever, which other G2 gearboxes have, which means you can dry fire this thing, which is great. The space is there on the gearbox shell, but it's been left empty. The gearbox shell is heavily reinforced towards the front. Even the tappet plate is uniquely shaped to account for the extra thickness. Additionally, G&G has molded in the radiusing of the cylinder window. While these are better than nothing, molding the shape can leave mold lines, and anyone looking to really push this gearbox to the limit is advised to file down these mold lines since radius cuts work best when they're smooth. Now, although the G2 gearbox has a quick change spring, on the SSG-1 you need to take the gearbox out entirely from the lower receiver to access it. This seems like a bit of a missed opportunity if you ask me. The battery compartment on the SSG-1 is limited to the buffer tube, which is accessed by removing the stock. The buffer tube seems to be standard, so in theory you could place any stock or buffer tube you want on this pivot point, above which G&G has cleverly concealed the inline MOSFET. The MOSFET has connectors on either side, making replacement and disassembly a breeze. The motor is G&G's excellent IFRIT 25K motor, which is 17 TPA and a really nice balance between torque and speed, delivering plenty of both. The hop-up is polymer with a rotary dial. The bucking appears to be a G&G blue with a split bump. The inner barrel is pretty basic. It is supported, however, by a short tube near the barrel nut and at the end of the outer barrel handguard thing. Now that we're out here at the range, one of the first things I'm noticing is how maneuverable the platform is. And that's due largely in part both to the polymer upper and lower receiver, but also the lightweight front end. The lack of a handguard or rail system means that this front end is a lot more pointable very quickly, which is going to make you that much more effective on the field. I will say the drawback to that is you don't have a lot of room for the attachment of accessories. But a lot of the things that you would need in a CQB game, aside from potentially a flashlight or a laser, are, a red dot. And I always recommend putting some sort of red dot or hollow sight on an airsoft gun, because in a CQB or MOUT environment, target acquisition and acquiring a target quickly are really, really important. Plenty of space up on the top rail for an attached optic like the one I've put here. Speaking of that comfortability, one of the first things I noticed when shouldering it is how different that shouldering is from a traditional M4 that I'm used to. That angled stock and its variable positions of adjustability mean that for a guy that hasn't used a platform like this before, there is a little bit of a learning curve, getting comfortable and getting your muscle memory back to where you can easily acquire your sights without having to hunt for it with your eyes. Snap shooting is easy once you find that red dot, or once you get that muscle memory up and it becomes easier to hit targets. I will say that in order to adjust this, you will need an Allen wrench. Once you've adjusted it to where you like it though, there really isn't a whole lot of reason to continue changing it, especially once you're comfortable with the platform. Battery still goes in the stock, which I like, and we've got an 1000 milliamp LiPo battery in the back. Let's talk a little bit more after we do some shooting. Now I know I'm not shooting it with a dye mask currently, but that's not to say that this isn't really an ideal platform for someone who is wearing full face protection. Let me explain. This drop stock can be adjusted to the perfect angle where you can still get a perfect sight on your optic, or even a front and rear sight if you decided to do so, or even sight down the barrel if you wanted, all without the stock interfering with your full face mask on the field. That's huge, because as anybody who's worn full face protection can attest, it gets in the way, especially when you're trying to get on target. So not having to think about that or have that stock get in your way is going to make you that much more effective on the field. And aside from needing to get used to the ergonomics of it, I really like that feature, because 9 times out of 10, I choose a full face mask when I play indoors. One of the things I noticed immediately is the more work I've been doing with my transitions and trying to get better at them, the more I find myself really appreciating ambidextrous controls. In fact, there are a couple ambidextrous controls on here that make this platform really easy to use, like the ambidextrous mag release. Unfortunately, there is no ambidextrous select fire switch. And while that's not a huge drawback for many airsoft shooters, I found that when transitioning to left hand, this became a problem. Can I learn myself around it? Absolutely. Would it be more convenient if it had ambi controls? Again, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about ergonomics, because they are a little bit different from your standard M4. Moving away from the stock, I want to talk about both the pistol grip, which is very comfortable and has a really nice texturization to it. I particularly like too that because you're relying on the pistol grip to do most of the support here as opposed to a handguard, they've got this nice little enhancement at the bottom of the pistol grip that makes it really easy to support the rifle with one hand and still do all of your firing. I'd be willing to bet though that if you're using this double trigger, you really won't be gripping the pistol grip very much at all. In fact, while feathering this, I found I really wasn't gripping the pistol grip at all. Moving forward, we need to talk about the barrel and handguard, or lack thereof. I know that it was a design choice to make the front end as lightweight as possible, and to eliminate that extra weight, they've gone to a much larger outer barrel that kind of doubles as a heat shroud slash handguard, I guess. But if you're like me and you're used to gripping the front end of your rifle like this, it's gonna feel really awkward. And I found myself learning through the process of using this not to grab up there anymore and instead held the receiver itself. Now, obviously, my opinions on the ergonomics and how it feels are somewhat subjective. And I'll be the first to admit, while I do enjoy indoor CQB and I like playing fast, I'm not necessarily an all that experienced speed QB or SpeedSoft player. So I might be missing some completely reasonable design choices here. With that said, I do find the rifle really lightweight, easy to maneuver, easy to point and shoot. So I see no reason why this wouldn't be an excellent usable tool in a SpeedSoft style game, or for anybody that plays indoor CQB. The ability to pie a corner without presenting a large target means that I can angle this way out, still be on my sights, and present the smallest target to the enemy player. And that's huge, especially in indoor when you're really fighting over the corners of buildings and walls in order to advance to the next stage of the game. Let's do the accuracy test. We've moved out here to the 50-foot line in order to do our accuracy test. Many of us like filming our airsoft games these days, and if you're putting an optic on, any sort of camera that gets in the way of the optic kind of becomes an issue. So, if you intend to film your games, my suggestion is to go with a run cam or fox ear that sits below the level of your red dot, or to simply mount it under the barrel. Or figure out some angled offset way to mount your GoPro in front of or behind your red dot. We've got 0.25 gram BBs in the magazine, the 11.1 thousand milliamp LiPo battery in the stock. Now this has G&G's blue split bucking, which gives you great accuracy, both at shorter distances as well as farther distances. I've adjusted the hop up for a nice level, flat shot, but other than that, I haven't cleaned the inner barrel. Let's see how we do at 50 feet. That's about 10 shots. Looks like they're all in the A and C zone. Getting a little bit of drift to the left, but that could be easily remedied by cleaning the barrel. I get that I hammer that home a lot. Maybe I should start cleaning the barrels. But we want you guys to know what it comes to you out of the box. And most of you don't clean your barrels. Let's head out 100 feet. Out here at 100 feet, we haven't changed anything, same BBs, same battery, haven't adjusted the hop up, we've still got a nice flat shot right out of it. Outdoors, you are gonna be a little bit more at the mercy of the wind, but we'll see how we do out here at 100 feet, aiming at our right target. Man, I missed that last one. Clearly, I'm not very good at snap firing. I need to work on that. There we go. Let's go see our shots. Taking a look at our 50-foot target, it's pretty easy to see that while I wasn't necessarily in the A zone, that is almost entirely based on my aiming and not the accuracy of the rifle. In fact, the grouping is nice and tight at 50 feet, which means at the majority of distances that you're going to be using this indoors, mount, and CQB, you're going to have tremendous accuracy without even touching the barrel yet. So really, really happy with that result. Let's check out the 100-foot target. Now the 100-foot target, you can see our spread grows considerably. Yes, that could be tightened up by going with a tighter bore inner barrel or by cleaning it, which would give you a little bit tighter grouping. But I think if you really wanted more accuracy at that kind of distance, going to a tighter bore inner barrel is going to be the most helpful for you. We've lined up here in front of our X-Cortec Chrono to do our chrono test for FPS and RPS. I've switched out to the 0.20 gram BBs to give you guys a better idea of what fields we'll get when they chrono with their 0.2s. And we've still got the same 11.1 volt, 1000 milliamp LiPo battery in here. Let's see what kind of FPS we get. Pretty consistent within about 2 FPS per shot. 353 is right above some indoor field limits here in America for indoor play. Obviously, using this more will break in that spring a little bit and hopefully drop that below the 350 FPS mark. And of course, you can always change out your spring if you wanted to go with a lower power spring using the quick change spring guide. Let's see our rounds per second. That's a really respectable, just about 22 rounds per second using the full auto setting with our 11.1, and similar FPS. We're up about 356 on this shot. I do want to see how many rounds per second I can fire using the double trigger. See if I can get more than 2. Let's see. Seven. Let's see if we can go faster. 8. My mag's empty. I felt like that was faster. Let's try again. 5. Clearly I need to work on my double trigger. That begs the question though, is the double trigger any faster than a standard trigger? I think we should find out. I'll be the first to admit again that I am not experienced in double trigger fire, so you guys may be able to get way better performance out of the double trigger than I can ever hope to, but I thought this would be a fun test. So we're gonna compare this featuring the G2 gearbox to their other G2 gearbox newer release, the Cobalt Kinetics M4. Let's see how fast we can go on this. Let's see if I can get faster with a single finger. Let's see if we can match that speed with the same gearbox, same battery, 1000 milliamp, 11.1 volt LiPo, same weight of BBs, and same magazine to eliminate all of the variables, and compare that directly to the Cobalt Kinetics G2 gearbox to see if a single M4 trigger works just as well. I will say, I love the way this gun looks, and I know this video isn't about this. I wanted to point out that I think something that was utilized on the Cobalt Kinetics, the 4590 trigger, would have been a great addition to the SSG-1. Now then, let's see how fast I can go with this trigger. So if I feather it the same way, I'm about the same speed. But if I wanted to use that double trigger to take less strain and awkwardness of holding it like this, the double trigger does have its advantages. One more note about the trigger. Now, in the US available version, you're getting a standard AR trigger that looks just like a standard M4 trigger, and the double trigger with the extended trigger guard is an upgradable aftermarket piece, aftermarket of course from G&G as well, but you'll need to add that on yourself. If you're in the international market, you're probably getting the one with the double trigger already. This one just happens to be the sample G&G sent us from SHOT Show, so we're missing a couple features like the US single trigger, as well as the dust cover that locks open with the locking bolt to allow you to adjust the hop up. On this one, I need to actually open the dust cover to adjust the hop up, but to give you a better idea of what that looks like, we've got a now standard G&G rotary style hop up, which works fantastically. I just wish that we had the production model that had the locking bolt. All right, let's talk about some of the things I really like and some of the things that I'm not crazy about. Things I really like, I love how lightweight maneuverable it is. I think this is going to be an absolute destroyer in fast-paced CQB games like Speedsoft games and other really highly competitive, fast-paced indoor games. And maybe something that I'm not all that crazy about is the flash hider at the front. I don't know that I'd ever really use the Picatinny rail segments up at the front, but if you wanted to mount a camera or a laser or flashlight, you could certainly do that. Thankfully, G&G has also thought about airsofters that use tracer units, and they've got an aftermarket adapter to allow you to use a G&G tracer unit, which I particularly like because the on and off switch is a rotating front cap, or something like a lighter S with their adapter that has 14mm threads. Out back, this is going to take some getting used to for me, but I will say that I would have liked this to be an adjustable stock on the fly as opposed to needing an Allen wrench to loosen the stock to allow for the adjustment. Also, on the sample model, there are only a couple locking positions, and the retail version may have more locking positions or allow more fine tuning than the one we used for this video. Other than that, I really would have liked an ambidextrous select fire switch, which I think is a little bit more useful than an ambidextrous bolt release, which, you know, in Airsoft is really kind of pointless. But since they've got an ambidextrous mag release, I would have loved to see an ambidextrous select fire switch. So, the big question, is this the future of Speedsoft? Clearly, G&G has their opinions on what a gun made for Speedsoft should look like. And I will give it credit where credit's due. Clearly, brands are thinking outside of the box instead of just replicating something that exists in the real world. And I love that. But we want to know what you think. Hit us up in the comments section. We do read them all. Better yet, if you like this video and you want to add to the conversation that brands read and whether or not they develop future platforms kind of in this style. If you like it, comment that you like it. And if you hate it, comment that you hate it. So brands can continue to refine their products to really cater to the users who are watching their videos. Check out our Facebook for updates on product releases, giveaways, and special events. Follow our Instagram for pictures, our AMAs, and other Airsoft-related content. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as clicking the bell notification icon to get notified of when we release our latest product videos. Remember, play hard, play safe, and have fun. Speedsofters, milsimmers, at the end of the day, we all love shooting plastic BBs out of toy guns. See you guys later. Something that maybe I'm not crazy about is, maybe something that I'm not entirely